Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Tobey's Talk Show. This is episode number 36, and as you can see, I'm not looking too good in this photo, but this video is actually my first video where I talked about the NBA predictions and the NFL hierarchy. I probably won't be as loud as I am right now, probably a lot less enthusiastic, but that's okay. I thought today would be pretty cool as we are kind of starting the playoffs to look back and see how my predictions were from the start of the NBA season. Probably I'll roast myself a little bit with some of these bad predictions, and I'll probably feel good about a few of these predictions I got right. Yeah, you guys will be seeing this video, and then I think I'll talk about the draft lottery in another video. And yeah, I'm just trying to get as many videos as I can for you guys out there. Obviously, I have a lot of work going on as I'm a rising senior, but we're trying to do it. And yeah, let's jump right into it. I think this video isn't going to be 26 minutes long because I know half of this, like it says right there, is that's the NFL hierarchy also. So I think the first 13 minutes is the NBA, and we're about to see. Let's see how I did.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tobey's Talk Show.
Yeah,
Today, we are going to be talking about the NBA and the NFL, some news, some predictions, and yeah, so let's get started with my NBA hierarchy. So, for my championship contenders, I got the Rockets, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Bucks, the Sixers, the Celtics, and the Warriors. So,
Okay. Well, let's stop there. The Warriors, I thought that if Curry, D'Lo, and Draymond were playing, I knew Clay was going to be out for some time. I thought they could have made some noise. And when I said championship contenders, I know I'll probably talk about it, but I thought Clay could have been back for the playoffs, and that could have really helped them. The Sixers, I think they could have been championship contenders if Simmons didn't get hurt. The rest of those teams were pretty good. I think those were spot on. And then I probably should have also had the Raptors. Obviously, I think they're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, so I would classify them as championship contenders.
I'll go through all of them. So, the Rockets, I think Westbrook and Harden will be a lot better than Paul and Harden because
the Rockets were the 4 seed this year. The Rockets were the 2 seed at one point with Chris Paul. So I wouldn't say more successful, but I think Russell Westbrook did have a better year than Chris Paul has had in any of his Rockets years, if that makes sense.
Westbrook's a facilitator. Paul is very good, don't get me wrong. He's a great point guard, a great leader. But I think Westbrook could bring more to the team, more scoring. He could spread the floor more. And I think they will work well together. And I think they could go farther than maybe the second round. Maybe they could somehow beat the Lakers or the Clippers. I could definitely see that.
Second round, that was pretty good.
The Clippers, Kawhi, Paul George. Paul George will be out for a month. But I do think that when he comes back, they will be the best team in the league.
Right now, record-wise, they're not. And they are only up in the series is tied with the Mavs. But they have looked like one of the best teams in the league this year. So that was pretty good.
They have the two best two-way players, in my opinion, in the league, Paul George and Kawhi.
They're both up there.
Kawhi, and, number one, their supporting cast is very good with Lou Williams, with Montrezl Harrell, with Landry Shamet.
And they also added Marcus Morris and Reggie Jackson to that mix with Joakim Noah also. So they have a scary team.
Patrick Beverley, etc. They have a very good team. The Lakers as well. Two great superstars, Anthony Davis, LeBron. They complement each other very well.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron may not have the defense, but Anthony Davis does.
Anthony Davis is a deep
They just complement each other very well. And they also have a pretty good supporting cast. Not as good as the Clippers, but they have Danny Green, Rondo, McGee.
Mm-hmm.
Howard looked good so far in the preseason, so hopefully he can keep that up.
Howard played great this year.
The Bucks, they were a proven team last year. They looked good.
It's pretty obvious.
They did lose Mirotic, and they did lose Brogdon, but I think Giannis is so good that he can carry this team.
Basically what happened.
And I think that they will make at least the Eastern Conference Finals next year against the Philadelphia 76ers. That's my prediction for the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, the Sixers aren't making it out of the first round, so that was pretty bad.
Josh Richardson.
But if Simmons was there, it could have been different.
Richardson, Horford, they did lose Jimmy Butler. But I think they will still be and JJ Redick, but I think they'll be very good. Josh Richardson for JJ Redick, I'll take that any day. Josh Richardson's a very good shooter, 3-and-D guy. He has an offensive game. I like him a lot.
I think he's very good for that team. I thought it was, but
and Al Horford, we know he's been very good for 10 plus years.
I thought when I was saying this, I knew Al Horford. He's a pretty good player, but I knew he wasn't worth that money.
He was on the Hawks, and he was on the Celtics these past few years, and I think he could help with his team shooting-wise, leadership-wise, defensive-wise. I think he's very good. I think the Sixers will be very good this year.
Hasn't really done any of that.
And they do have a pretty good bench. They have Trey Burke, Kyle O'Quinn,
Both of them aren't even playing for them.
And they
Kyle Quinn's still there, but he's on the bench.
brought back James Ennis, Mike Scott, and a few other guys. So I think they'll be very good. The Celtics, we know they lost two big guys, Horford and Irving, but they did have a pretty good free agency, in my opinion. No one really thought that. No, people thought they were going to have a really bad free agency, but they had Kemba Walker, they had a Cantor. So they did lose Marcus Morris, but I think they'll still be very good. Hopefully, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown take that next step,
which they did.
From
they both did.
A pretty good starter to an all-star.
Jaylen Brown wasn't an all-star, but he was really close, so that was pretty rad.
And Brown has something to prove this year because he's looking for a contract, a big one. The Warriors, they might start off the regular season pretty rocky without Klay Thompson. D'Angelo Russell's get used to the system, but I think that big four, even with the KD loss, I think they'll be very, very good.
Injured yet.
And they've proven themselves, and they have the experience. Good, but not finals good, so could make Eastern Conference, Western Conference finals. I don't think that they're ready for the finals. Maybe if they do some trades, but those are the Jazz, the Nuggets, the Trailblazers, and the Nets.
The Nets. Well, okay, Kyrie, he was supposed to play this year fully, so that hurts, and obviously I can't control that. But yeah, no, the Nets are going to get swept. The Nuggets, yeah, that's fair. They could make it to the Western Conference Finals. The Blazers, that was pretty good. Obviously, I didn't expect them to have a terrible regular season and get there, but I think that's pretty fair. If they somehow beat the Lakers, they could get there. And then the Jazz, the Nuggets and Jazz are playing each other, so they're both aren't contenders, but either of those teams I think could make a run for it. So it's pretty good. The Nets one was not good though.
So the Jazz, they added Mike Conley, they added Bogdanovich. They look a lot better. Their team looks a lot better. Mike Conley's a great veteran for them, and Bogdanovich is a very good shooter. I could see them taking a big leap this year. Nuggets, they were the number 1 seed last year, and they kept pretty much their same team. Porter Jr. is playing this year, so watch out for him. And, if some player...
In the bubble, he was playing very well.
It's like Jamal Murray take a step. Porter Jr. plays well. Gary Harris takes a step.
Gary Harris took a step backwards.
Millsap keeps his defense leadership, everything else in check, and Jokic keeps getting better. Then they could be a team. The Trailblazers, they added Whiteside.
Whiteside was great for them this year.
I don't know how Nurkic is doing. He'll probably be out for a few months, but Lillard's always good. McCollum's still there. I think they'll be a good team, but just they won't be able to make the finals.
Melo wasn't signed yet either.
The Nets, we know who they added, Irving and Durant, probably the biggest winners in free agency. But they do not have Durant this year. He said he'll be out all year. I think Irving could lead them, since the East is a lot weaker than the West, to the second round, maybe the Eastern Conference Finals if they get lucky. But I just don't see them being the Bucks.
If Irving played in this series, and I also didn't expect for there to be a bubble and people to miss the bubble. But if the Nets had their team that I thought they would, and they played the Raptors, it would be a lot closer than what it would be now, obviously. But I think the Nets could have pushed that series to 6 or 7 if they had their team besides KD.
Or Celtics. Sure, playoff teams, but not going far. I got the Raptors. They did lose Kawhi, as we know, but...
That's a bad one. I knew they were going to make the playoffs, but I should have expected them to have done better.
They got Siakam, who's looked good, and I think he'll have a very good year this year. Gasol, who's still good. They have Kyle.
Some people didn't have the Raptors making the playoffs, which was, a bad take. But I think I should have had them a little higher than just, being a playoff team.
Lowry. So they're definitely not out of it. I think
the Raptors and Nets should have switched places.
They'll make the playoffs for sure, but I don't think they'll go far. The Pacers not going to have Oladipo till February.
That's fair. The Pacers are not going to make it past the first round, so that was pretty good.
But they did get Brogdon, T.J. Warren. I like their team. They have Turner. They have Sabonis. So I think they'll be good. Good chance to make the playoffs. Kings, Thunder, Heat, Magic, Pelicans, Pistons, Spurs.
So it was only the Raptors and Pacers in that. The Pacers, that was pretty spot on. And the Raptors, they should be switching with the Nets, and that would have been pretty good.
And Hawks. Good chance to make the playoffs. Kings, Thunder, Heat, Magic, Pelicans, Pistons, Spurs, and Hawks.
That's a lot of teams. So Kings, they were right there. They were like 3 games out of the 9th seed bubble playing game. So that was not bad. And then what else?
Good chance to make the playoffs. Kings, Thunder.
So Thunder, the Thunder, they were the 4th seed. So I thought that they had a very good chance to make the playoffs. But I didn't say they were locked for the playoffs. They were the 4th seed, so they should have been a lock. So that was a little off.
Thunder, Heat.
They should have been a lock. I didn't realize how good they would have been. I also didn't realize how good Tyler Harrow, Duncan Robinson, and Kendrick Nunn all would be for the Heat. So that's why. Magic, yeah, they were pretty much, I agree with that. They were the 8th seed, so they weren't locks for it, but they probably would have made it. So that was pretty good. Pelicans, yeah, I agree. That's where they were. Pistons, and they were there. They're trash.
Spurs,
they were right
Hawks.
there. Hawks, they were the worst team in the league.
Kings, I mean, they surprised a lot of people last year. Fox, I think, will take another big step. He'll look a good contract year. Something to prove.
He'll got the money, but he played okay.
Having contract extensions right now, but if they don't give it to him, I think he'll definitely prove something during the season. He averaged 20 points a game last year. They kept pretty much their same team, so I think it's just the youth getting better and better. The Thunder, people are, I think, really doubting them, but they have Chris Paul, Gallinari, Gilgeous looks very good, Adams. So I think they could make the playoffs. They might not, but they're not going to be like one of the worst teams in the league.
I mean, yeah, a lot of people had them not even becoming close to the playoffs. So at least I had them coming close. They were kind of the surprise team this year.
The Heat, Tyler Harrow has looked amazing. They have Jimmy Butler. So I think they could make the playoffs, but, they don't have the best supporting cast. They have Bam Adebayo and Dragic, but I just don't see them going really far or maybe not even make the playoffs because they don't have the greatest bench. Their cap space isn't looking good. They traded their picks. The Magic, they were the 8th seed, I think. Or no, 7th seed against the Raptors. They got the first win in the playoffs against the Raptors, but then they lost the next 4. But they have pretty much their same team, so I don't see them getting better, getting worse, but probably staying around the 8, 7, 9 seed.
Exactly what they were.
Pelicans, they made some trades and they had a really good free agency. Derek Favors, JJ Redick. They got Zion, they got Lonzo, Ingram, Hart. So their youth looks good.
I'm sorry, my camera angle is just the camera work on this video is really bad. Not even getting my whole face in it. Oof.
They got some veterans that could help the team a lot. They could make the playoffs for sure. It depends how the youth plays. It depends how Lonzo, Ingram, Zion plays. The Pistons, they added Sekou Demboya. I don't really know. Oh, and of course Derrick Rose. So they could have a good year, I think, but they're not going to improve drastically. I don't think.
Blake Griffin was supposed to play this year also, but he was out the whole year. So that was also unexpected.
They're going to do terribly either. Blake Griffin, supposedly their rumors might get traded if they do terribly, but I don't think they will do terribly, so I think they'll be fine. The Spurs, I mean, they're the Spurs. They're always the 8th, 7th seed these past few years. I think they'll stay the same. And the Hawks, they have a lot of good youth. Cam Reddish, they have the 4th round, the 4th pick in the
DeAndre Hunter.
draft. I'm forgetting his name.
DeAndre Hunter.
But I think he's very good. DeAndre Hunter, there it is. Trae Young, who's looked great. Kevin Huerter, John Collins. They have a very young, solid team.
I thought they should have done a lot better this year. I think a lot of people expected that. It's honestly their defense that held them back. But I think Clint Capella will help them next year. And obviously the draft pick they'll have this year will also help.
Depends how they play, obviously. Middle in the lottery teams I have is my next category. So they probably won't make the playoffs, but they won't be the worst teams in the league. Timberwolves, Bulls, Mavericks, Knicks.
Yeah. I need to go back on that.
They probably won't make the playoffs, but they won't be the worst teams in the league. Timberwolves, Bulls.
Timberwolves? No, they were the worst team in the league. And they were pretty healthy. I mean, they're just not. They don't have a lot of great guys on that team, not yet. They were playing a little better at the end of the season after they traded for Beasley and D'Lo and all that. But yeah, they were one of the worst teams in the league this year. Who else there was?
Next category. So they probably won't make the playoffs, but they won't be the worst teams in the league. Timberwolves, Bulls, Mavericks, Knicks.
Bulls. Yeah, that was pretty spot on. Honestly, they were in the middle of the path, just like the Knicks. Well, I know because I just watched the draft lottery, and I'll be doing a video on that right after this. The Bulls passed the Knicks in the lottery, so they were right there. They were kind of the 22nd, 23rd best team in the league. So that was kind of what I was aiming for. So those were pretty spot on. And then the Mavericks, that was pretty bad. I didn't expect Kristaps to come back as strong as he did, and Luka is just so good.
Timberwolves, they didn't really improve anyway. They lost Derrick Rose.
They were pretty bad.
Cat could have a great year, but I just don't see Wiggins improving that much. So they'll be an okay team. The Bulls, they got Kobe White. They still have a young team, so it really just depends. The Mavericks, they have Kristaps and Doncic. I don't really know how they're going to play together, but hopefully that works well for them. They just don't really have the best supporting cast.
They still don't, but they played very well.
They have Boban, they have DeLon Wright, but I just don't see them doing much damage. And the Knicks, they got a lot of good free agents. I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm hoping for the best, but I just don't see them doing much. They got Randall, Marcus Morris, Bobby Portis, but I just don't see them going far.
No.
Then we have the try again next year teams. They're already eliminated, not going to do anything. The Suns, I didn't really understand their draft position there.
The Suns, they were a pretty shitty team until the bubble happened. If the Suns went like 2-8 or 2-6 in the bubble, 3-5, no one really cared about the Suns. But the Suns went 8-0 in the bubble, which is pretty insane. No one expected that. So that was pretty spot on. And the Suns were like the 13th, 12th seed, so that was pretty like go home next year. But after their 8-0, I would not call them a go home team.
They're getting Cam Johnson. They didn't really have a big free agency. They got Rubio, but Rubio's not much. The Hornets.
Rubio played very well for them, though.
We know the Hornets. They get lost Kemba for Terry Rozier.
They're pretty trash, but they played better than the Knicks and Bulls. So, yeah, but they were all like right there. So that no one expected them to make the playoffs. They had a little better than what people thought because everyone thought they'd be the worst team. I did too with the Grizzlies, and oh shoot, I haven't said the Grizzlies yet. That's not good. But so now I know that I messed up pretty big on that one. But no one expected Devontae Graham to do as well as he did. And that's pretty much why they had a few more wins than I thought they would.
Once you lose Kemba, you're not going to do that well. I was
about to say Memphis.
The Cavs.
They were pretty bad this year.
The Cavs, so they're a young team, new coach.
That was spot on.
I just don't see them doing much. It's pretty much just a year to see how the young guys do. The Wizards, John Wall's going to be out for most of the year. Bradley Beal did just sign a contract extension, but they don't have a really good team at all. So, and the Grizzlies, they have a.
Oh, there it is. Okay. The Grizzlies obviously shocked a lot of people. I thought they would have been one of the worst teams, just because if you look at their roster, they were really, really young, a brand new head coach, really little veterans, like no experience at all. I knew Ja was a stud. I loved Ja in the draft. I knew Jaren Jackson was good, but besides that, I didn't see much talent. I didn't expect Dylan Brooks to have the year he did. And they had a lot of young guys like DeAnthony Melton, Grayson Allen, who else? Like Kyle, and like all these guys that like you didn't expect to play well. They had very good seasons. So yeah, I mean they shocked the world. And obviously they didn't make the playoffs, but they were the 9th seed, and they should have been the 8th seed. If it was probably regular season, they probably would have made the 8th seed. So good for them.
A very very young team. Brandon Clark,
of course.
John Morant. Grayson Allen. They don't have and obviously Jaren Jackson Jr. Josh Jackson's going to be in the G League for them. So they have a very young team. It's going to be just like the Cavs, just a year for the young guys to do well. Now
that's what I thought, and then they went crazy.
I'll have my NBA award predictions.
Okay, we can look at this also.
So MVP, I do have LeBron James.
I think it's Giannis. I thought, a lot of people thought Anthony Davis would win over LeBron. So, LeBron's, LeBron's going to get second, I think. I think Giannis deserves to and will win it and get first by a long shot. But, I predicted the second, or the runner-up. So, it's pretty good. But, yeah, it's going to be Giannis this year.
Giannis could obviously win it again, but I just think that, the people just don't like to give it back-to-back. It's just like
I think so, too, and I thought they would have given it to LeBron. But Giannis just played so well this year that if you just look at the stats, you could just tell how much better Giannis had. I wouldn't say Giannis destroyed LeBron this season, but Giannis had one of a very very top seasons. And if you compare it to LeBron's season, it's just Giannis is better in pretty much every stat. So
that's why I think for the NFL, Patrick Mahomes will win this year. I think Russell Wilson will if their stats are the constant throughout like they have been for the past few games.
Russell Wilson did not win MVP. Lamar Jackson did, but I don't think a lot of people were expecting that.
Just because they don't like to give people MVP back to back. But LeBron James, the Lakers are going to be very good this year. They were at a 37-45 record last year. LeBron had a very good year last year because of their record. He was out a lot. He wasn't going to win MVP, but I think with Anthony Davis, he'll play a lot better. He'll be able to space the floor more. He won't be double teamed as much. So I think he'll have a very good year. Watch out for him. Defensive Player of the Year, I have a surprise, which is Mitchell Robinson. This may be biased, but
Wait, whoa, whoa. I, I have zero recollection of that. Like zero. Wow. Okay. I I don't know when I thought of that. I don't know if I read that somewhere. I don't know what I was thinking. But Mitchell Robinson is probably the worst. I know I'm a Knicks fan. I know Mitchell Robinson is a great defender, but he's not even gonna make the All Defensive second team. Like, I don't know where I got that from. Awful take. One of my worst takes besides the Grizzlies take. Wow. I honestly, as I had zero recollection of that, and I was not expecting that. Um, and yes, Mitchell Robinson's a great defender, but he's nowhere near that yet.
But he'll get a lot more playing time. He only got 20 minutes a game last year and had
He didn't even get that much more playing time. Also,
2.4 blocks. He was second in blocks per game as a rookie last year. And I think because he'll get more minutes, he'll get more blocks, he'll play better defensively. He's still growing, he's still learning, and I think that do a lot better defensively and just be be known as one of the best defensive players in the league. Doc Rivers, Coach of the Year.
definitely possible. The Clippers were the second best team in the West, so like obviously I don't think he's even nominated for it, but he deserves to be recognized for his coaching skills this year. But I have Nick Nurse. He like as you guys see, like, I was not expecting the Raptors to do that well, and he really exceeded my expectations, and I think he deserves it.
I mean, the Clippers
And I think Billy Donovan and Budenholzer are before Rivers when it comes to it.
are going to have a very good season, which is why I have Doc Rivers.
But I
They were
understand
the
why I did
AC
that.
last year, so I think they went 42 and 40. I think I'll have them going 60 and 22 this year.
Obviously, before Corona, that kind of destroyed that whole record prediction.
So I think with that 18 win increase and just how good of a team of the year, my most improved is Lonzo Ball, and that is
That Lonzo was gonna, drastically improve in his third year in a new system. Obviously, not the case. Didn't happen. But it is what it is. I don't know why I just said that. But Lonzo Ball, he had a pretty solid year, I would say. He improved in some statistics. I think he got a better passer. He works very well with Zion, and he was a little more aggressive this year. But for me, it has to be Brandon Ingram. That's just my opinion. I've talked about this on this channel before, but the fact that this guy is putting up in the same minutes like 7 more points, 3 more rebounds, 2 more assists is really it's pretty crazy to see. And he was an All Star this year, so I think that's why he deserves it. But yeah, Lonzo was not the right Pelican to choose.
you know, as you can see, his shooting form looks a lot better. In preseason, he made 5 for 5 from the free throw line, so obviously his shooting is getting better. I think this is a great situation for him. He has a dynamic duo with Zion. There's no pressure relay. His dad's leaving him alone. He could lead the team as a point guard slash shooting guard, depending on how Alvin Gentry wants to run the team. Rookie of the Year, I have Zion Williamson.
If Zion played more games, he would have won it. But he was injured for most of the season. But honestly, if Zion played more games, he would have won it. So it's not that bad of a prediction.
He has been a little injury prone, but I think he'll be fine during the year.
No.
Preseason looked really, really amazing. He had like 24 points, averaging I think in like the last.
When he plays, he's one of the best. But when he's not playing, it's not okay. And he doesn't play, or at least this season in the summer league and in the preseason, he wasn't playing that much. So it's not a good sign. I think if Zion's going to play, in any case, like if he plays, he's going to be one of the best players on the court. But if he's not playing, it's not good. He's not been playing a lot, and it's scary as a franchise seeing that guy get injured a lot.
Last three preseason games, so he looks very, very good. Great situation for him, as I said, with a point guard with Lonzo. And I think he's still just too big and athletic for the NBA. Like I just don't see anyone that could really stop him. Sixth man of the
When Kyrie got hurt, he started playing in the starting